Hello there. As I join you today in this episode, this is going to be starting from page 97 with chapter 4 with the book Multipliers by LizWiseman. We've taken a little bit of break for almost 6 days to 7 days, but we're back with another episode for you with the reading challenge. As I am going to read, I want to wish everybody a happy New Year, a New Year with blessings and good health. All right. So, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Please, as you watch this video, leave us a like, comment under the video, and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. All right, let's read for 20 minutes. Okay, so chapter 4, page 97, The Challenger. The number one difference between a Nobel Prize winner and others is not IQ or work ethic, but that they ask bigger questions. Peter Drucker. In 2005, Shai Agassi sat in a large auditorium in Davos, Switzerland, at the World Economic Forum. He was there as one of 200 young global leaders, an elite group of up-and-coming world leaders, all under 40 years of age. At the time, he was a top executive and board member of SAP and was assumed to be next in line for CEO. As he sat in the forum, he was asked a simple question. What could you do to make the world a better place? The question and the challenge stuck with him. He left SAP in 2007 and founded Better Place in Palo Alto, California. Shai started with a simple question. How do you run a country without oil? But initially, the answers were far from simple. He first posed the questions and tested the ideas with his colleagues at Young Global Leaders and with a white paper for the WEF. He looked at alternative forms of transportation and worked on the question for 6 months in small groups. After several iterations, he could see the opportunity. After a year, he knew pursuing this opportunity was the right thing to do. He began building the team that would make it happen. An idea for a better place. To build his team, he simply explained the opportunity as he saw it. This was nothing short of a chance to make the world a better place, which inspired the name of the company, Better Place. He then explained the possibility, known for his sharp intellect and ability to see around corners. Shai began to assemble the pieces of the story. He explained the logic supporting electricity as the most viable energy source for cars and took others through the same logic. Barak Hershkovitz, CTO for Better Place, said, after a 5-minute conversation about the opportunity, I decided to leave my job and join him. A challenge. Not only did Shai explain the opportunity he saw, but he began to lay out the challenge. To make electric cars a viable option, someone would need to build the infrastructure for recharging or switching batteries. Someone would need to be the AT&T and build a network across a vast geography. After months of analysis, the team realized that battery charging could not be the most viable solution. They would have to build an infrastructure for rapid battery switching at stations, much like gas stations. Shai issued the challenge to the team and began asking the difficult questions. How can we change a battery in 5 minutes? And how can we make it user-friendly and location-independent and car-independent and cheap so it can be scalable? He turned the problem over to the team and gave them 2 months. The team then broke the challenge down into pieces and constructed a solution. Within 3 months, they had a working prototype, not for a battery switch in 5 minutes, but rather a solution to switch a battery in 1.5 minutes. It was beyond his outrageous expectations. A possibility. Shy is an expert in making the impossible possible, says one senior member of his team. He breaks down the challenge in a way that makes you believe it can happen. Barack recounts a pivotal moment for a better place. I was preparing for a critical meeting with one of the car makers. I knew they were skeptical about the solution we had developed. So I had developed a plan B, which was a compromise that might be easier for them to adopt. Right before the critical meeting, I told Shy that I had created, reluctantly, a plan B. Shy asked me, "Do you believe in what you were doing?" He paused. Is it the right solution? He sensed my hesitation and asked, "Is there a better solution?" I told him that there wasn't a better solution, but that Plan B represented a compromise that would not work as well. Shai told me, believe in what you do and stick with the truth. I'll back you up." I stood up and at the meeting with the car maker and gave the speech for the original solution, not the Plan B compromise. It must have been in the way I said it and in my conviction. But all of a sudden, the impossible became possible. The whole room was now in support for the original solution. Shai is a master at defining opportunities that dare people to stretch beyond what they know how to do. This is one reason why Shai was listed in Time magazine's 100 most influential people list, published in a May 2009 issue. His team describes what it is like to work with such a challenger. He'll outstretch all your capabilities to make it happen. He is highly demanding, but you feel great. You know you are signing up for something that will challenge you on a daily basis for many years to come. You will challenge yourself in all your capabilities. Exhilarating, exhausting, challenging, gratifying. He is a big source of energy. He is a source of power and a tailwind for what we do. Shai gets more out of people than they knew they had to give, and they love it. It appears the man who seeks to charge the world's electric cars has found a way to charge the people in his organization. Consider another company founder, the expert. Richard Palmer founded SMT Systems in the mid-1990s in the United Kingdom to build systems and tools for business process reengineering. Started as Richard's brainchild, the company's intellectual foundation was built from his expertise as a business process analyst and in expert systems. The process reengineering work appealed to Richard's sense of methodology and superior strategy, both developed through years of playing chess as a youth. Not only was Richard one of England's youngest chess champions holding a master rating, but it was common knowledge throughout the company that he was a chess champion. It was typically the first thing people said about Richard. Chess champion and Oxford University graduate. He was clearly a genius and the chief genius in the company. While he gave the title of CEO to someone else, everyone knew Richard, who remained the chairman of the board, was still the one who called the shots on budget, pricing, products, compensation, and company strategy. An army of pawns. The energy changes in a room when Richard enters. It is as if the headmaster has entered the school assembly. People begin to shrink. People react the way they might when the calculus teacher gives a surprise oral quiz, getting smaller, hoping he or she would call on them and find them lacking. Despite the fact that everyone fears the attention will turn to them, the attention often just stays with Richard, who works to make sure he is seen as the expert and smartest person in the room. In one executive management meeting, Richard put the company general counsel in the hot seat with a pop quiz about a technical distinction on a very specific legal code regarding corporate governance. Richard had become concerned that his general counsel didn't fully understand the nuances of this particular code that had to be reported to the city. So he began launching questions, one by one, The general counsel answered them until the questions became more precise and delved into nuances and obscure scenarios. The general counsel looked puzzled, but answered the questions to the best of his knowledge. But this didn't satisfy Richard. Richard left work just in time to stop by a W.H.S. Smith bookshop before it closed. He didn't buy just any governance book. He bought the 600-page manual on the most recently announced corporate governance codes. And he didn't just look up the answer to the question he asked. He stayed up through the night reading the entire book. The following day, he called a meeting of the executive team. The topic for this emergency management meeting was, of course, this particular code. Richard professed his newfound knowledge and quite publicly let everyone know everything the general counsel got wrong. Bad bishop. Richard is a master of the gotcha question. Richard only asks questions that he knows the answer to. He asks questions to test other people's knowledge and to make sure other people understand his point of view. One of his vice presidents said, "I can think of a single time that he has asked a question when he didn't know the answer." He is also a master of the stall question, which he uses when he doesn't have the answer himself. He is known for asking frivolous questions during teleconferences to stall the conversation while he Googles the answers to get ahead in the conversation. One such stall was during a meeting with an account team that was planning their sales proposal for a deal with British Telecom. The sales team was reviewing the proposed contract. Richard, who appeared to not yet know exactly how the contract should be worded, jumped in with, "How many of you have read British Telecom's field operations manual? The document was 500 pages long and not your typical reading for a sales representative." Wondering if this was a trick question, the team tentatively confessed that they hadn't read it. Richard replied with, "How can you even understand this contract and sell to a BT if you haven't read the field operations manual?" The sales process came to a complete standstill while the entire account team and Richard, the founder and chairman of the board, read the manual. One team member said, "He wasn't the kind of leader who would say, 'I have an idea. Why don't we look in the manual to better understand the business and the terms of the contract?' Instead, he made us look ridiculous for not doing it." Fool's mate. It is no surprise that really smart, talented people don't stay long in this organization. Some were asked to leave when the founder finds out they aren't as smart as he'd like. Others quit and stay, giving up on the idea of making a meaningful contribution. The sharpest people have leave because they see the wasted time and talent and know that the organization can grow beyond its founder. Although the company has been able to grow sales under Richard's leadership, most believe that the organization is inherently limited. They remark, "We'll never become a serious company." One of these two founders operated as a challenger. The other founder operated as a know-it-all. This chapter is about the difference. The know-it-all versus the challenger. The approach of these two founders captures the essential difference between how know-it-alls and challengers provide direction and pursue opportunities for their organization. Diminishers operate as know-it-alls, assuming that their job is to know the most and to tell the organization what to do. The organization often revolves around what they know, with people wasting cycles trying to deduce what the boss thinks and how to at least looks like they are executing accordingly. In the end, diminishers place an artificial limit on what their organizations can accomplish. Because they are overly focused on what they know, they limit what their organization can achieve to what they themselves know how to do. In setting direction for their organizations, multipliers have a fundamentally different approach. Instead of knowing the answer, they play the role of the challenger. They use their smarts to find the right opportunities for their organizations and challenge and stretch their organizations to get there. They aren't limited by what they themselves know. They push their teams beyond their own knowledge and that of the organization. As a result, they create organizations that deeply understand a challenge and have the focus and energy to confront it. The mind of a multiplier. What are the assumptions that lie at the heart of these different approaches? Consider our two founders. What caused Shy to challenge his organization in a way that allowed others to do their very best thinking and best work? And why did other people's intelligence and capability stagnate around Richard? We know that both founders are highly intelligent with a clear vision for their organizations and a passion for their work. But if we examine their approach to setting direction, we can distinguish two different logics at work. Deeply embedded in Richard's logic is the assumption, I need to have all the answers. He sees this as the essence of his job or as the leader. And if he doesn't know the answers, he needs to either find them himself or appear to know the answers. What does he do when he doesn't have the answers? He stalls until he can find it. He buys a book on corporate governance. He reads the operations manual. He Googles the answer. He assumes his role is to know and to be the expert. It is an assumption that may have become entrenched in the years he studied expert systems. If a leader holds the assumption that it is a leader's role to provide the answers, and if the employees resign themselves to this mode of business, a downward know-it-all spiral naturally follows. First, the leader provides all the answers. Second, subordinates wait for the directives they've come to expect. Third, the subordinates act on the leader's answers. Finally, the leader concludes they would never have figured it out without me. He or she sees evidence to support this belief and concludes, it is obvious I need to tell others what to do. Shy's leadership at Better Place follows a different logic. He uses his intellect and energy on two things. First, asking the big questions, and second, showing that a solution is possible. He understands the challenge at a deep enough level to believe a solution is possible. His assumption seems to be that people get smarter by being challenged. As people embrace the challenge, both their insights and their belief grows. Soon, the belief becomes infectious and the unsolvable problems become solvable. Antiquated arguments give way to new thinking, and what once appeared to be roadblocks become interesting puzzles, which teams solve one by one. If leaders have to spread their intelligence across asking the questions and finding all the answers, they will tend to ask questions they already know the answers to. Once a leader accepts that he or she doesn't have to have all the answers, he or she is free to ask much bigger, more provocative, and frankly, more interesting questions. They can pursue things they don't know how to do. Let's look at another challenger in action. The challenger. By 1995, the Oracle Corporation was headquartered in the affluent waterfront neighborhood of Redwood Shores on the San Francisco Peninsula of California. Oracle had begun retooling its products for the internet, but the business strategy was still unclear. The challenge of figuring out would fall to Ray Lane, Oracle's president, who had joined Oracle 2 years earlier and had grown the U.S. business from $571 million to $1.2 billion. Ray's revolution. Ray decided to gather the top 250 leaders of the company from across the globe in a series of forums to educate them on the corporate strategy and to align the leadership team behind the strategy. Ray and the other senior executives, including CEO Larry Ellison and CFO Jeff Henley, prepared their strategy presentations and gathered the first group of 30 executives. They gave their presentations and held discussions. But as the week went on, the group became more and more confused. One VP spoke for the group when he said, "We aren't clear on the strategy. We just saw a lot of PowerPoint slides." Ray and his team went back to the drawing board and did a major overhaul of their presentations. They invited another group of 30 executives. This time, the feedback was different. It was an all-out revolt. One of the executives took a risk and said, "Stop getting people together until there's a clear strategy." The team was not buying what Ray and the rest of the team were selling. Independence Day. The senior executive team quickly regrouped at Ray's house on the first available day, the 4th of July. They realized the global business had become more complex and diverse than they originally thought, and while they couldn't build a strategy alone at corporate, they decided to take a fundamentally different approach. Ray and the executive team started out trying to tell others all the answers. They switched to sharing the fundamental questions, trends, and assumptions that were shaping their views. When they came back together with the next forum of leaders, Ray and the other executives shared what they saw happening in the business and where they saw the world going. Ray cited the opportunities that these trends would present for Oracle and presented a framework for a strategy. 4 key transformations needed in the business. And then, with this broad stroke of his brush, he stopped telling and started asking, are these the transformations needed in the business? And which of our assumptions about the future might be wrong? Ray gave the group a challenge to fill in the blanks. The team would have 2 days to examine each of the 4 transformations, identify milestones, and pinpoint the implications for the business, and then pass the thinking on the next group of leaders who would go further. The group did exactly that, advancing the thinking of the executive team and then handing off their work to the next group of executives. The group reveled in their collective success and left the forum knowing that they had begun something big. The process continued until all SVPs and VPs had been involved. Each group challenged the work that had been done before them. They took their task seriously, turning the strategy upside down and sideways as they looked for holes, logic flaws, and vulnerabilities. In the end, they emerged with both a validation and a refinement of the collective thinking. The momentum was building. The convention. Ray and the other executives culminated this process by convening the entire leadership team of the company. The executive team unveiled the strategic intent of the organization and the transformations needed in the business. The reaction of the global leadership team was overwhelming enthusiasm and optimism, knowing they would be making business history. The strategy was fresh and compelling, yet it was familiar to them because they had co-created it and could see their fingerprints on it. When the meeting was divided into regional breakouts, the scene was far from typical. Instead of a discussion about why this won't work in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, EMEA, and EMEA, the conversation in the EMEA breakout room was almost boisterous with questions like, what is the first step and where can we start implementing this in Germany? The scene in the Japanese breakout room said it all. They discussed the strategy and its implications for Japan. And then, with quiet fervor, they began to reorganize as if they were going to battle. What was unveiled in the meeting and the breakout sessions was a manifestation and statement of the collective will of the organization. Under Ray Lane and Larry Ellison's leadership, the organization forged ahead to execute this strategic intent, propelling Oracle in the lead position in the late 1990s for enterprise computing in the internet world. From 1996 to the year 2000, Oracle grew from $4.2 billion to $10.1 billion, more than doubling revenues. Ray Lane began with an honest attempt to sell a strategy to the organization, but he emerged a more powerful leader as he first seeded the opportunity and then laid down the stretch challenge for the organization. He didn't set the direction. He ensured the direction was set. He operated as a challenger. We will stop here at page 107 because we get to the 20 minutes deadline. All right, guys, it was good to be with you and have this time of reading. Thank you for following along us. We were reading Multipliers by LizWiseman, chapter 4. So I need to go. I have to go now and wish you good time with your family for this end of the year and have fun. And God bless. All right, be careful. Be careful if you're driving or if you're going to events outside of your community. All right, during this time of celebration, especially in Haiti. Bye-bye, guys. Love you. Okay, and see you in 2026, right? Bye-bye.